Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to talk about encapsulation in Python. Using OOP in Python, we can just restrict the access to the methods and variable. This will prevent the data from direct modification, which is normally called as encapsulation. So let's demonstrate this. So first of all, I want to make a reuse of the previous code in order to show you the encapsulation. And after this, we'll also take the example where the encapsulation can be done with the help of Python. So before that, I'll just make one variable in this bird class, which would be our species. So let me just say bird over here, and this is our species. And now while calling this penguin object, which is our Peggy, and we have inheritance here, that means we can make use of this species, which is basically our attribute of parent class in this child class. So let's make use of this attribute, which is obviously the species. So I'll just assign the new value to this species attribute. So let me say it is animal, not bird, it is animal. So let me just print this down, which is this new Peggy.species. So let me just print this down, save this first, and let me show you the example. The new would be animal. So we have replaced down here with the animal, but the original value was a bird. So bird was basically replaced with this animal, and this bird is ready is due to this super call over here, and print penguin is ready is because of this init method of this penguin, as we have created this penguin object, and we have just specified the animal to be the species of this bird. That means it has changed from the bird to the animal now. So we want to restrict this assignment or a modification to this attribute, and this can be done with the help of this encapsulation. So if you want to make your variable or attribute private, what you need to do is we simply give the single underscore over here. So in the case of this Python, that is the version greater than 3, you normally put this double underscore. So when I just say double underscore to the species, and let me just save this down and print this, then it is saying penguin object has no attribute species. So that means you are restricted to use that species attribute due to this double underscore, which has now private scope. So in Python, we denote using this underscore, that is the attribute which is private attribute, using this underscore, single underscore, or a double underscore. So that is our data encapsulation. So let me take another example to illustrate it clearly. So let me make a class, which would be obviously the new class, and let me say computer. Let me say computer is our class. So let's give the colon in order to define this class, and let me define main method over here, which is obviously the init method, which is the constructor. So let me just pass here self, which would be our default argument, and let me just define this private variable, which would be max price. So I have already said you with this double underscore, you are getting this private scope to your attribute. So if I just say 900 over here, and now let me just define another method, that would be sell method, and as always I'll just pass a self, and let me just print this down now. That should be selling price, and let me just format this down, and let me just call with this format method. So what you need to do here is you have to just make use of this attribute, which is class attribute max price. So after that, you need to just close this print method. Now let's make use of this set max price. So I'll just say set max price, and here what you need to do is I'll just say self and the price. So now we'll just set this max price, which is obviously the class attribute, to be new value, which would be price. So now what you need to do is create this computer class object with this expression. So we just created this expression, so we'll just say sell this one. So now if I just sell this one, and let me just print this down first. So in order to print, what you need to do is just simply press F5, then it is saying our selling price is 900 over here, and let me just now assign a new value to this max price and see if this 900 is changed to the new value or not. So what you need to do is simply you just make use of this object, and we'll just say compute, it should be max price, which is our attribute, and I'll just say max price should be now $1000. So instead of 900, it is just changed to the 1000. So now let's call this cell again one more time. So it should be cell, and let me just save this down, and now it's time to press F5 and see the result. Then you could see in this case the price is not changed. It is 900 in the initial, and it is same as 900 in the case where we just converted from 900 to 1000. So this attribute of the class remains the private scope. Basically it can't be changed directly with this object. So we have now encapsulation here. That means you have hidden your data from direct access with this object. So what you need to do is make use of this setter. So we normally make use of a getter and setter in order to get that private scope attribute of the variable, and we also make use of a setter in order to set that value of the attribute or the variable. So we'll make use of that. So in order to do that, what you need to do is we'll just say set max price, which is obviously our setter here. So it normally takes your price. So here price should be, let me say 1000. So new price should be, now let me just say sell. Then you could see it should be changed to the new price, which is 1000 over here. So now you can just assess this attribute, which is class attribute, with the help of a getter and setter over here. So instead of just directly assessing through this variable, which is basically our object, you can now make use of the method, which is getter and setter, in order to make these variables modification. So it is really important to know about this data encapsulation, which basically prevents from the direct modification of the class attribute. In this program, we normally find a class computer, and we make use of this init method to store the maximum selling price of a computer, which would be 900 at the default, and we try to modify this price. However, in that early code, in this code, maybe let me just go back to that code, and you could see in this code we can't change it because Python treats this max price as a private attribute. So to change the value, we use a setter function, which is this set max price, which basically takes a price as a parameter, and we set this class attribute to this max price, which is changed basically to this 1000 when you call with this c.cell. So that was basically make using of this set max price, which is a setter. So the Python provides you a getter and setter in order to change or modify your class attribute. So using this double underscore, you can just make your normal attribute to this private attributes or a private scope attribute. So it is the data encapsulation that provides you a hiding of your attribute, class attribute, from the direct modification from your object. So this will be the wrap for this lecture. In the next lecture, we'll talk about the polymorphism. See you in the next one.